Hey everybody, I'm going to tell you about red wiggler composting worm. So this is my worm farm. So this is a red wiggler. Red wigglers have 5 hearts. They have no eyes or ears, and they can live 2 to 5 years. And they are made of 90% water. So this right here is a worm cocoon. And there are between 1 and 6 worms in this little cocoon. And it takes about 3 weeks for them to hatch. And they can become tiny little baby worms. I cover them up with cardboard. You want to keep them moist. So, this is cocoa core. And they've turned this cocoa core into castings, which is basically their poop, or is their poop. And today I'm going to change out the bedding. So I'm going to keep the castings, I'm going to put them in this bucket. And I'm going to change out their beddings because they have been in this for a while now. My sister-in-law made this bin and then gave it to me. These castings you can spread around in your garden and they act as a fertilizer instead of having like chemicals like Miracle Grow, which is chemically made. And so you just go through and you look around and try to see if you see any baby worms. There is a lot of life in this if you look really close. Like you see a little guy crawling. So while I am separating out the castings from the worms, I figured I would tell you some fun facts that I've learned about worms. So worms have 5 hearts, and each of their hearts have 1 chamber in them. Worms are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female organs, so they can reproduce basically by themselves. So they make little cocoons that are like little lemon shapes that I showed you. So Cadence is helping me today. So you're going to take the worms out and you're going to put them into the bucket. We're going to separate them out.
Worm.
Ah,
I want to hurt you, worm.
So worms actually breathe through their skin.
There's a bug in there.
Yeah, there's lots of bugs. It's alive. They're microbes. It's different things that can decompose our food.
No worm.
They're living inside of the cardboard.
No worms.
Okay, hold on.
Wormies, come on.
Worms breathe through their skin, so they don't want their bedding to be super wet and drown.
Look at this little baby.
It's a baby. There's lots of babies.
More little worms. Oh, there's another worm. I will hurt him.
So when squeeze, that's a little bit too wet. So you want your bedding to be wet, but not too wet. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. They're not gonna hurt you. They're not gonna hurt you. It's just a worm. See? I'm touching. Yeah, they tickle.
Look at that little baby. Come back here.
So worms eat. I feed my worms basically any food scraps from the garden. Worms cannot have our citrus. Limit the citrus. Limit the onions. Limit spicy food. Limit onions. You can put coffee grounds. They do not have teeth, so you want to put like a cup of sand into the bedding to like grind up the different foods. They suck the liquid off of the food. So what I do, I put my food into the freezer and then I will thaw it out and I will put it in there, and then it's already kind of decomposed for them. Oh, there's a cocoon. There's lots of little cocoons. See there?
Little cocoon.
Yep, there's babies in there.
Baby worms.
Oh, there's another worm.
Trying to find worms. Oh, there's one. I just wet them up by my hand. I scooped them up.
So these castings are a really good source of nitrogen, which your plants need. Your plants need phosphorus. Plus, it's living. Like I said, there's another cocoon.
Found another baby. I found another grown-up worm.
You did?
Look. Another grown-up.
Worms, they do like to be kept in a nice, cool, dark place. If you live in a super hot environment, I've seen people like freeze water bottles and bury them into the containers. You can use a wide range of containers. Some use bathtubs, some people use totes, some people use containers, some people use buckets. Worms are really quite easy to keep. Also, whenever you water them, you want to have non-chlorinated water. We have well water, which is perfect as long as it's not treated with chlorine or whatever. If you have city water, try to use spring water bottles.
Oh, wormy.
The chlorine in the water will actually kill the microbes, and it's just not good for the worms.
That tickles.
Tickles.
The worms just tickle.
And you want the microbes because that is really good for your soil. They're like a good bacteria.
Wormy.
So some people think that, and even I did, I thought that worm tea was just the runoff of the water from your worm farm, and that is totally incorrect. It's called leachate, and leachate is toxic to your plants and is toxic to humans. So like, don't be pouring that onto your plants because it can suck up into your plants and then you're eating it. So the worm tea, basically the castings, and you put them in a tea bag. I'll make another video about how to make worm tea once I get all of the products for it. So these are red wigglers, they are not earthworms. So red wigglers compost different things. You can put, I think, hair in here. You don't want to also put eggshells in here, like grind up the eggshells. Some people grind up newspaper as a bedding. Some people, I've used soil as a bedding and it worked just fine. It was just really hard to get the worms out. So cocoa core is very crumbly and you can find the worms. My problem was it was just like a sludge with soil in it, and it was just really thick. Found another one? Put it in there. Alright, so this is the final product. This is your worm castings, or the worm poop. And this is also called black gold because it is really that good for your soil. Here's my bucket of worms. There's still a couple worms in the bottom there. It's fine because I'm going to be putting them all back in a minute. So this is your cocoa core. This is the bedding for the worms. This is what they live in. It's called cocoa core brick. I got 2. Now you have to rehydrate these. So you're really wanting to get organic because this is going into your garden or on your plants. Now you're going to get some water. You might hear the kids in the background. They're playing in the rain. It is raining out. So you're just wanting to like reconstitute it. Soak up all the water, break it apart, and trying to do this one-handed, so it's not so easy. I got a new phone and I absolutely love the quality of it. So I'd rather use my phone now than the camera because the camera is old school. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. I kind of moved. As you can see, this is Dennis's diesel in the background. Eventually I'll make a video about that too. I have like parts of it. But he cracked his piston. It's a diesel F350, and this is the second time that he's cracked his piston. So we're going to rebuild it. So I definitely will take a video if any of you guys are watching and want to watch that. This is the channel called The Way of Kay. It's not just about gardening, it's the way that I live. So I have cooking videos. I have a bunch of different things eventually. Let me get some more water. You can probably hear the kids, like I said, they're out there and it's raining and they're playing with the umbrellas in the rain, so. And arguing. I'm just being honest. I'm not gonna try to sugarcoat any of this. This is just the way that I live, the way that I do it. And I'm glad that you guys are watching it because hopefully you enjoy this. A lot of social media makes your life seem like everything is just so easy and so happy and stuff. I'm gonna show you the real deal, hands messy and all. That's how I do. So you want to get all of that soaked in. That's probably enough water. Now I just need to let it sit for a little bit and get all this dry stuff, because you're only wanting to squeeze and it be just a couple drops, not sopping wet like that. Because like I said, worms breathe through their skin, so you don't want it to be too wet. But see the different colors? This was their bedding, and this is how the black it was, or is now. So they turn, that's how you know it's done, is it's black gold. Now I'm going to add about a cup of sand in here from the ground because we live in Florida and it's very sandy. But that just adds grit to the cocoa core. And this will dry out a little bit. All right, so I got some sand from the ground in the play bucket. And I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it in there. It's just going to help the worms to break up their food since they don't have any teeth. Just mix it all in. And there we go. Now I'm going to add in the worms. So here are my worms. Now they don't like the sun, so they're going to tunnel down really fast. So here are my frozen food scraps for the worms. I just leave them in the freezer, and I'm going to take a handful out and put it into a bowl, and I'll thaw it out. And then I'll feed them. You want to make sure that you cut them really small so that they're easier for them to eat. So I do keep my worms inside in my pantry, like this. I like to be able to just throw things in there when I need to, or I just like to have them close. So here's the worms. I'm going to dig a little hole right in the middle. Now they usually are down further, but I just put them in there, so they're like, let me check the moisture again. Yeah, it's good. So it looks dry, but it's really not. So I'm going to put in the thawed out food or fresh food, and I just put it all right in the middle. And you want to make sure that you cover it back up. That way the flies or the gnats don't get around to it. It just keeps the smell down. And there you go. And then I cover them back up with the cardboard. So this is the worm bin 4 days later. We're going to see how much food that they've eaten. So you can tell that they're all right here where I put the food. And it's pretty much gone. You see all those worms. So I don't know if I've said before, but worms eat their weight in food every day. So since there's so many worms in here, I need to feed them more. And so that was not enough for them. And this, see how there's only a couple drops coming out? That is perfect. So it's perfectly wet. You only want like just a couple drops. So since your castings are still alive and there are still microbes in there, you want to put a lid on it and keep it into a nice cool place with I put a bunch of little holes into the top of the lid to keep it aired, because if you don't put air with it, it'll get anaerobic and it'll get stinky and it kills all the bacteria. So you just want to, you can either put it right into your garden. You can either put the castings right into the garden or add it to your house plants. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed.